You're at a social event, or maybe it's your first day at a new office.
Right.
You're feeling good, you have your coffee, and you're meeting someone new. They smile, they tell you their name, and then they drop the most terrifying phrase in the English language. So tell me about yourself.
Oh, man. It is a complete panic moment for so many people. Your brain just completely stops working.
Panic absolutely sets in. You think, do I talk about my job? Do I talk about my family? Wait, should I explain where I live?
Yeah, you start translating words in your head.
Exactly. And suddenly, you feel like you have forgotten every single English word you ever learned. It feels like a test you didn't study for.
It's a highly stressful situation for anyone.
Today, we're looking at a really fascinating stack of sources. We have articles on communication psychology, notes from experts who study language, and research on how adults learn a second language.
Lots of great information here.
Yeah. And our mission today is to take all this research and figure out the absolute best way to introduce yourself in English. We want to take you from freezing up in panic to speaking naturally and confidently.
Right, so you sound like a real human being, not like a memorized textbook.
Exactly.
Because the biggest takeaway from all these communication studies is that a good introduction is not a list of facts about your life. It's actually an invitation. It's the very beginning of a relationship.
Okay, let's unpack this. An introduction is an invitation to connect. But looking at our notes, it's clear that before we can build this perfect, interesting connection, we have to start with the foundations.
We do.
We have to get the basic building blocks right, like your name and your location, and we have to do it without sounding like a robot.
Right. Let's look at the very first thing you say, your name. Traditional English textbooks almost always teach learners to say, "Hello, my name is," followed by their name.
Which is what everyone learns first.
Exactly. Now, grammatically, that is completely correct. But the data shows us that in everyday spoken conversation, it's much more natural to just say, "Hi, I'm," and your name. Like, "Hi, I'm Sarah," or "Hi, I'm Alex."
But wait, let me challenge that. Textbooks hammer, "Hello, my name is," into our brains from day one. Millions of intelligent adults learn it this way.
Yeah, they do.
If it's grammatically correct, why do these communication experts tell us to stop using it? Isn't it safer to just use the textbook phrase?
Well, it is safe, but it changes the energy of the room. It sounds very formal and a little stiff.
How do you mean?
Imagine you're at a casual coffee shop meeting a friend of a friend, saying, "Hello, my name is..." It sounds like you're starting a business presentation, not a casual chat.
I see. It's like wearing a formal tuxedo to a summer beach party.
Yes.
Technically, you're wearing clothes, so you aren't breaking any rules, but it's definitely the wrong vibe. You want your language to match the energy of the room.
That's a perfect way to look at it. "Hi, I'm..." is relaxed, and it matches that casual energy perfectly. You want to make the other person feel comfortable.
Right.
Now, right after the name, there's a very common trap that learners fall into. When you meet someone, the polite thing to say is, "Nice to meet you." But you can only use that phrase one time.
Right. The research highlights this as a major point of confusion for learners. You say, "Nice to meet you," the very first time. But what happens if you see that same person again at the office next week?
You must switch to "nice to see you." Yeah, if you say "nice to meet you" to someone you've already met, the psychology changes. It makes the other person think you forgot them entirely. It breaks the connection you built.
Wow. Okay. So first time, nice to meet you. Every time after that, nice to see you.
Exactly.
That's a small detail, but it has a huge impact on human connection. But a name is really only half of the foundation. The immediate next question people usually ask is meant to find out about your geography. They ask, "Where are you from?" But the answer to that can be really tricky, especially for adults who have moved around a lot.
This is where two very specific phrases become incredibly useful. The first is simply, "I'm from." You use this if your story is simple. "I'm from Spain."
Okay, simple enough.
But the second phrase is a powerful tool. "I'm originally from." You use originally when your current home is different from where you were born.
So if I look at my own life, if I was born in Egypt, but now I live and work in Turkey, I would say, "I'm originally from Egypt."
Yes, exactly.
You have a little story of movement.
Yeah,
It shows I have a history.
precisely. And to talk about where you live right now, the sources show two main choices. You can state a simple fact, "I live in Turkey."
Right.
Or you can use a slightly more advanced structure to show duration. "I've been living in Turkey for 3 years."
I've been living it. Why do the communication experts prefer that second option?
Yeah.
What's the psychological difference between "I live in" and "I've been living in"?
Well, it goes back to building a relationship. I live in Turkey is a closed fact. It's just a data point.
Okay.
I've been living in Turkey for 3 years.
Hmm.
Gives the other person a sense of your life journey. It shows how long you have experienced that culture. It gives them more information to ask questions about.
Okay, listener, we are going to do something a little different right now. We want you to practice this concept immediately.
Yes, active practice.
I'm going to pause for a few seconds. I want you to speak out loud wherever you are. Use the foundation we just built. Say, hi, I'm, and your name, and I'm originally from, and your country.
Go ahead, try it.
Take 3 seconds. Ready?
Go.
Awesome. Yeah, even if you felt a little silly doing that, saying it out loud builds physical muscle memory in your mouth.
And that muscle memory is exactly what stops the panic when someone asks you to introduce yourself in real life.
So true. Now that we have the foundations, your name and your geography, we need to cross the bridge from stating facts to actually starting a conversation. The articles we're reading call this creating hooks.
Yeah, a hook is a little piece of interesting information. Think of it like fishing.
Fishing.
Yeah, you put a hook in the water to catch a fish. In a conversation, you drop a piece of interesting information to catch the other person's curiosity. It gives them a reason to ask you a question.
Usually the easiest topic for a hook is work or studies. The standard question is, what do you do? But reading through the notes, this specific question is a massive point of confusion for English learners.
It is highly confusing because it sounds like it means what are you doing right now, but it does not.
Right.
What do you do is the standard English way of asking, what is your profession? If someone asks, what do you do, please don't say, I'm drinking coffee and talking to you.
That would be pretty funny, though.
It would, but you reply with your job, like I'm a teacher or I'm studying computer science.
That clears up a lot of awkward moments.
Yeah.
But work is just work. The real magic, the real human connection happens when we talk about hobbies. This is where you really set your hooks. The problem is most textbooks just teach us to say, I like music, or I like reading.
And the psychology of conversation tells us that I like is simply too weak. Doesn't show enough enthusiasm to invite a question.
It's a bit boring.
Right. Instead of I like, the research suggests using the phrase I'm really into. For example, I'm really into photography. It means the exact same thing, but it sounds passionate.
I'm really into fitness. I'm really into movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear the difference. It sounds like you actually care about the topic.
Definitely.
But there's another phrase in our sources that I find even more interesting for creating a hook.
Yes. The phrase I've recently gotten into. This means you have just started a new hobby, like I've recently gotten into cooking.
Let me explore why that works so well. Psychologically, saying you recently started something signals vulnerability. You're admitting you're a beginner, and human beings love giving advice. If you say you just started cooking, I immediately feel invited to ask, really, what kind of food are you trying to make? Do you need any recipes? It lowers the pressure of the conversation.
That is exactly the mechanism. You're giving them bait. Let's compare 2 introductions to clearly show how these hooks work in practice. Let's look at introduction A. Listen closely to how this sounds.
Okay, let's hear it.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm 25. I'm from Canada. I'm a student. I like music.
Okay, let's analyze that. The grammar is 100% correct. But there is absolutely nothing to talk about. It's just a flat list of facts. It feels very closed off.
Now listen to introduction B. Hi, I'm Anna. I'm originally from Canada, but I've been living in Spain for the last 2 years. I'm studying psychology, and I've recently gotten into photography.
Wow. The difference is night and day.
Isn't it?
Intro A is like a closed door. You look at the door, and there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And intro B is like handing the listener the keys to 4 different doors and letting them choose which one they want to open. They could ask about life in Canada, or the move to Spain, or the psychology degree, or the new photography hobby.
And that is the big secret of the psychology of communication. You do not need to tell someone everything about your life in the first minute. You just leave little breadcrumbs of information. You give them choices.
Okay, we have all these great ingredients now. But having a kitchen full of ingredients is useless if you don't know how to cook them in different situations.
So true.
Let's take these phrases and test them in the real world. A huge part of this deep dive is understanding that social rules change depending on where you are.
Right. This raises an important question. How does your introduction need to adapt based on the room you are standing in?
Let's start with a high-stress situation. A new job. It's your first day. You walk into the office break room to get a coffee. Someone is standing there. How do you start without being awkward?
The sociolinguists point out that walking up and just saying, hello, my name is, can feel too fast and abrupt. A very natural, smooth way to approach a new colleague is to use the phrase, hi, I don't think we've met before. I'm Alex.
I don't think we met before. That is incredibly smooth. It acknowledges that you are strangers, but does it in a very warm way.
Exact.
And then you follow it up with your context. Today's actually my first day here.
And then you immediately turn the focus to them to keep the conversation flowing. You ask, how long have you been working here? It takes the pressure off you and lets them talk about their experience.
But the office isn't the only place we have to do this. A lot of people listening are probably taking language classes or maybe university courses.
Sure.
The social rules in a classroom are totally different, aren't they? Like the teacher points to you and says, introduce yourself to the group.
Yeah. In a class, you have an audience, not a one-on-one conversation. You want to be clear, relatively brief, and relatable.
Right.
You give the basics, your name, where you're originally from, and your job. But a fantastic hook for a classroom setting is to explain your motivation.
You mean explaining why you're in the class?
Yes. For example, I'm learning English because I'd like to travel more, or I'm taking this course because I want to change careers. This instantly gives your classmates something to relate to because they all have their own motivations too.
It builds instant community.
Exactly.
Now, let's look at the trickiest situation of all. A social event or a party where you don't know anyone. How do you break the ice when there is no shared context, like a job or a class?
Well, you can open with that same friendly phrase, hi, I don't think we've met before, I'm Alex. But then, instead of asking about work, you ask, what brings you here?
Here is where the language gets really interesting and a bit dangerous for learners. What brings you here is just a polite, friendly way of asking, why are you at this party?
Right.
But you must use the exact phrase, what brings you here?
It's a critical difference. If you walk up to a stranger at a party and directly ask, why are you here? The psychology of the interaction changes completely.
It sounds like an aggressive security guard checking their tickets. Why are you here? Sounds like a police interview. It questions their right to be in their room.
Exact.
But what brings you here sounds curious. It just means, how do you know the person hosting the party?
Let's actually show the listeners how this feels in practice. Let's role play a terrible textbook-style introduction at a party and then a natural one. I'll stand by the snack table and you approach me.
Okay, I'm going to use the exact phrases a beginner textbook teaches.
Yeah.
Here I come. Hello. My name is Daniel. I am 35 years old. I am an accountant. My hobbies are reading books.
Oh, nice to meet you. I am going to go find my friends now.
Ouch. It is physically painful to do. Stating your exact age out of nowhere, I am 35 years old, just feels so unnatural at a fun event. It offers no hooks. It offers no warmth.
It stops the conversation dead. Let's rewind and do it the natural way, using the phrases we've discussed from the communication research.
Okay, taking a breath, walking up to the snack table. Hi. I don't think we've met before. I'm Daniel.
Oh, hi. No, I don't think so. I'm Sarah.
Nice to meet you, Sarah. So what brings you here?
Whoa, I actually went to university with the host. We've known each other for years. What about you?
Boom. See how much easier that was? It flows. It feels human, not robotic.
And the entire goal is making the other person feel comfortable enough to share their story.
But I want to look at the worst case scenario, because we all know conversations don't always go perfectly.
Oh, for sure.
Let's say you introduce yourself beautifully. You use the best hooks. You say, I'm originally from Canada, and I've recently gotten into photography. And the other person just looks at you, nods, and says, oh, nice. And suddenly, complete silence.
The dreaded awkward silence.
It is a conversation killer. The other person isn't helping. They aren't asking follow-up questions. How do we revive a dying conversation?
This is identified in our sources as a massive hurdle for adult language learners. Often, a learner will answer a question and then just stop talking.
Yeah.
They wait for the other person to ask another question, like a job interview. To survive this, the research suggests a simple formula: answer, add, ask.
Answer, add, ask. Let's break down how that mechanism works.
Let's imagine someone asks you, what do you do? Step 1 is answer. You give the basic fact, I'm a graphic designer.
Okay.
Step 2 is add. You add one single interesting detail to that fact. I've been working as a graphic designer for about 3 years.
Right.
Step 3 is ask. You ask the other person a related question. What about you? What do you do?
Answer, add, ask.
Yeah.
I'm a graphic designer. I've been doing it for 3 years. What about you? So by ending with a question, you are transferring the responsibility of the conversation back to them.
Exactly. If we connect this to a broader metaphor, conversation is just a game of tennis. When they ask you a question, they hit the tennis ball over the net to your side.
Okay, I like this.
If you just answer the question and stop talking, you have caught the ball, you put it in your pocket, the game stops.
And staring at each other in silence is not a fun game of tennis.
No, it isn't. You have to hit the ball back over the net. Asking a question at the end of your sentence is how you gently hit the ball back.
That's a great visual.
And the add part is crucial for pacing. If someone asks what you do and you talk for 10 solid minutes, that is like hitting the tennis ball 100 miles per hour at their face. They cannot return it. Adding just one detail is a gentle, easy volley.
That makes so much sense. But let me push back on behalf of the learners out there. A lot of learners know they make grammar mistakes.
Of course.
What if I make a mistake when I'm trying to do the add part? I might use the wrong verb tense. Isn't it better to just be silent and say less to avoid looking foolish?
That fear is completely valid.
Yeah.
Learners are intelligent adults and they know when their grammar isn't perfect, which creates hesitation. But the psychology studies are very clear. No, it is not better to be silent. Really. Really. In the real world, human connection matters far more than perfect textbook grammar.
People want to connect with a human, not a grammar book.
Exactly. If you nervously say, I've been work graphic design 3 year, the grammar is technically wrong. But the other person still completely understands your meaning.
Right.
More importantly, they see that you are trying to connect with them. They care about keeping the tennis game going. They don't care about the color of the tennis ball.
Keep hitting the ball, even if your form isn't perfect. I love that. And to help hit the ball back, our sources suggest keeping a few universal questions in your back pocket.
Yes.
Things like, what have you been up to lately? Or what do you usually do on weekends? They are open questions that force the other person to talk.
And while they talk, you get a moment to relax and just listen.
It completely takes the pressure off you. Okay, let's pull all this research together and quickly recap the 8 building blocks we have covered today.
Sounds good.
To build a natural human introduction, you need 1, your name. Hi, I'm.
Okay.
2, your history. I'm originally from. 3, your current home I've been living in. 4, your profession. What do you do?
5, your passions, something you are really into. 6, your new hobbies, something you have recently gotten into. 7, maybe a reason for your goals, like why you're learning English. And 8, the ultimate survival tool. Always ask a question to hit the tennis ball back. What about you?
Now, listener, we have a final challenge for you. Your task for tomorrow is to prepare a 30-second introduction for yourself using these specific blocks. Imagine you're meeting a new colleague or a new neighbor at a party.
Think about the main ideas. Which hooks do you want to share? But please do not write it down and try to memorize every single word.
Yeah, don't do that.
Memorization is what makes you sound robotic when the panic sets in.
Right. Just practice saying the ideas out loud in your room, or in the shower, or in your car. The first time you say it, you'll probably feel strange. The words might feel heavy in your mouth. That is totally normal.
The second time will be easier. The goal here is not to pass a memory test. The goal is to build comfort. Once you are comfortable talking about these blocks out loud, starting a conversation isn't scary anymore.
Before we wrap up this deep dive, looking at all the linguistic and psychological research we've covered, do you have any final thoughts to leave us with?
I do. Some of the papers we reviewed talk about an interesting idea called the second language persona.
What's that?
When you learn to introduce yourself in a new language, you aren't just directly translating your old life into English words. It actually gives you a unique psychological opportunity to reinvent yourself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You are choosing which details to highlight. You get to decide exactly how you want to present this new English-speaking version of yourself to the world. It gives you a lot of power.
That is a profound way to look at it. You get to design your own hooks. You get to be the architect of your own persona. Well, listener, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the art of introductions. Remember that opening panic we talked about at the very beginning? Meeting someone new and hearing, "Tell me about yourself."
You're ready for it now.
Exactly. Next time they ask, don't freeze. Just pick up your tennis racket, drop a few interesting hooks, smile, and hit the ball back over the net. You are ready.